You're listening to Holy Lives, Inspiring Stories. This podcast is brought to you by Paulines Multimedia. Discover the saints. Be inspired to live like one. Welcome to Holy Lives, Inspiring Stories. Today, we're talking about a man whose kindness still wraps the world in warmth, Saint Martin of Tours.
Yes, Martin, the soldier who became a saint. The story of a man who traded a sword for compassion and found holiness in something as simple as sharing his cloak.
I love that image. I think everyone's seen that painting. Martin on horseback, cutting his cloak in two to share with a beggar. It's so simple, but it says everything about who he was.
Exactly. It happened when he was still a young soldier in the Roman army. It was a bitterly cold night, and he saw a poor man at the city gate, half naked, trembling, and ignored by everyone passing by. Martin had no money, no supplies, just that thick soldier's cloak.
So he did what compassion always does. He stopped.
Yes, he took out his sword, cut the cloak in half, and gave one part to the man. People around him probably thought he was crazy. I mean, a soldier walking around with half a cloak? But Martin didn't care. He just couldn't bear to see someone suffer when he could do something about it.
And that night changed everything, didn't it?
It did. That very night, Martin had a dream. He saw Jesus, wrapped in the half cloak he had given away, and he heard the Lord say, "Martin, still only a catechumen, has clothed me with this garment." That's when he realized, whenever you show love to someone in need, you touch the heart of Christ himself.
That must have completely turned his world upside down.
It did. He couldn't go back to life as before. Martin left the army saying, "I am a soldier of Christ. I cannot fight again." From then on, his only battle was against poverty, injustice, and indifference.
I love that courage, walking away from comfort and status just to live the gospel. That's not easy.
No, it's not. But Martin had a heart that couldn't rest unless it was loving. He became a monk, living quietly in prayer and simplicity. People came to him for advice, healing, and peace. He didn't seek fame. He just tried to live close to God and close to the poor.
And yet somehow, holiness never stays hidden for long.
Exactly. The people of Tours saw his holiness and wanted him as their bishop. But Martin, humble as he was, didn't want the job. So what did he do? He hid in a barn full of geese.
Oh, that's the best part. But then the geese blew his cover, right?
They did. They started honking loudly and gave him away. It's as if even the geese were saying, "You can't hide from your calling, Martin."
I can imagine that scene. A future saint trying to stay quiet while a flock of geese ruins his plan.
Yes, and so he accepted not out of ambition, but obedience. As bishop, he lived the same way he always had, simple, gentle, and close to his people. He didn't sit on a throne. He walked the roads. He didn't wear fine robes. He still wore the same old cloak.
That's such a powerful image. A bishop with half a cloak, still serving the poor.
That's Martin. He saw his role not as power, but as service. He defended the oppressed, cared for prisoners, and comforted the sick. When conflicts broke out, he was often the one who brought peace. People said his presence carried warmth. Not just physical warmth, but peace that reached the soul.
It's amazing how that one act of sharing became a lifelong mission.
Yes, what began as half a cloak turned into a whole life of love, and that love left a mark that still lives on today.
You mean even in our words, like chapel and chaplain?
Exactly. The cloak he shared was called a capa in Latin. People treasured it so much that they kept it as a sacred relic, stored in a small building called a capella, which literally means a little cloak. And the priest who cared for it, he was called a Paulines, or chaplain.
So every time we use the words chapel, or chaplain were actually remembering St. Martin's cloak, an act of love that turned into a legacy of care.
Yes, a word born from mercy. Isn't that beautiful?
It really is. It's like God took that one moment of compassion and multiplied it through every chapel, every chaplain, every act of kindness that shelters someone in need.
That's the thing about love. When it's given freely, it never disappears. It just keeps spreading.
Martin's life feels so relevant today. We may not meet beggars on every corner, but we do meet people who are cold in spirit, lonely, anxious, unseen.
Exactly. The cloak we can share might be our time, our attention, our forgiveness. It's about seeing others the way Christ sees them, with compassion.
And that's what makes St. Martin so relatable. He reminds us that holiness isn't about perfection, it's about love made real in the small, everyday choices.
Yes, his holiness wasn't spectacular. It was steady, the kind that quietly transforms lives.
You know, it's amazing to think that this one man who once carried a sword ended up carrying peace instead.
That's the power of grace. God took his courage and redirected it from battle to mercy. Martin shows us that even strength can become tenderness when it's given to God.
That makes me wonder, what's my cloak? What's the thing I've been holding on to that someone else might need?
That's such a good question. I think each of us has something. Maybe it's time, patience, encouragement, or even just presence. When we share those things, we warm the world a little more.
And maybe that's where sainthood begins. Not with big sacrifices, but small, loving ones.
Yes, and those small acts, when done with great love, become holy ground.
That really ties into what Holy Lives is all about.
It does. Their stories remind us that the saints weren't distant heroes. They were real people whose faith, struggles, and courage can still teach us how to live today. Through them, we see what love looks like when it's lived, not just talked about.
And St. Martin of Tours shows that so well. His compassion wasn't grand or dramatic. It was simple, human, real. Yet through that, he revealed the very heart of God.
Yes. His story invites us to do the same, to live with that same purpose, courage, and compassion in our everyday lives. Because love that's shared, even in half a cloak, can still warm the whole world.
Beautifully said. Thank you for joining us today on Holy Lives, Inspiring Stories.
Discover the saints.
Be inspired to live like one.